This brings me back to an interaction that I had not too long ago when I received a message from a gentleman who is fairly well known and respected in the interview and interrogation community overseas. And he reached out unsolicited, clearly with an agenda in a very short message. And the agenda, or his message, was this: "Hello, Michael." Not very many people call me Michael, by the way. I mean, it's totally cool if you do, but when he starts with "Hello, Michael," or we just got formal for absolutely no reason. "Hello, Michael, I think it is time that you accept the fact that interrogations equal conflict." No, that wasn't the time, today isn't the time, and I'm not aware of any time coming soon where we're going to have to accept that. Interrogations do not equal conflict. Now, if we're being honest with each other, the opportunity for conflict certainly does exist. However, whether conflict occurs or not is going to ride pretty heavily on how we as interviewers interact with our subjects and how we encourage the flow of the conversation and the development of the relationship as we go on. So it certainly could happen, but interrogation doesn't automatically equal conflict. Now, if we stop and think about it, there's no doubt that all the elements are there. We have people typically with juxtaposed interests or goals going into the conversation. And I'm not talking about suspects only, and I'm certainly not just talking about suspects that a thorough investigation has clearly indicated are more likely to be responsible for some wrongdoing. We could be talking about victims. We could be talking about witnesses, or we could be talking about suspects. We could be talking about subjects who are not really sure what their role in the investigation is. Many of those people can experience more motivation to withhold information than they do to actually share information. Of course, our motivation is to obtain as much truthful information as quickly as we can. And when you think about our motivation, obviously we want to be successful. We want to feel successful. We want to live up to our own expectations and our team's expectations. We want to impress the people around us, our coworkers, our bosses, our family, whoever it might be. We want to go home at the end of the day, if there have been victims, feeling like we protected the victims. When you look at the motivations of the interview subjects, they have their own self-image to worry about. How are people going to perceive them? Do they have preconceived notions about who cooperates with interviewers and who doesn't? Are there potential consequences that they face, either real penal consequences or more social consequences that they face? There's some overlap between the pressures that we face, however, we're coming at it from opposite angles. So we do know, and I'm sure most of us, especially judging by the size of the group for the CFI picture we had earlier, understand that how we approach these conversations and the relationships that we do attempt to build are going to be critical. Now, whether it is because we had an off day, or whether it is because we were rushed, or whether it is because of the volume of work that we face, we often do make mistakes. None of us are perfect, most certainly not me. It might be a situation where we ended up accidentally creating conflict because we failed to build rapport. It might be a situation where maybe we accused too early or personalized the conversation too early. Getting back to one of the things that Dr. Casson said earlier, maybe we exposed what we knew and we started showing evidence or giving away details that we should have withheld to ourselves. Maybe we didn't consider some of the logistical factors and we put somebody in the physical environment at a time in front of a group of people that made them feel the extra need to defend themselves. And when we consider classically the reasons why we typically assume that people will tell us the truth. It's not just confess. Victims, witnesses, suspects. Why will these people tell us the truth? Many times we've all discussed that it's because they believe the truth is already known, or that they want to make sure they have the opportunity to put their spin on the story. Or maybe whatever it is they've done or that they know is weighing on their conscience so heavily that they're actively seeking an opportunity to share it and get rid of that burden. But it's important to consider from our perspective that we do take the time to complete an investigation as thorough as possible with the resources that we do have available, that we do use morally, legally, and ethically acceptable means in order to elicit the truth from the people we talk to, that we do value the relationship we have the opportunity to create, and maybe most importantly, I guess we're splitting hairs now, that after the interview we take the time to verify any new information we learn during the interview with independent evidence that we find after the fact to corroborate what we learned before we make any decision to prosecute or terminate or seek restitution or whatever it might be. We briefly mentioned rapport. It wasn't too many years ago where the FBI came out and said that regarding the success that interviewers experience during their interviews and interrogations, many times the most important thing they have to do is establish genuine rapport with their subjects. I think that goes without saying for most of the people in this group. Hopefully we understand it's important that treat people with dignity and respect. In fact, hopefully we're taking the golden rule to a new level with the people that we interview. It's not just are we treating people the way we want to be treated, because I bet you a lot of us are willing to take one for the team. It's really, are we treating people the way we would accept our mothers, our children, our daughters being treated? Because that's a whole different level. I don't know about you, but there's a different threshold there for me. You can get away with a lot of stuff with me, but my wife and my son, probably not as much. So hopefully we have those things in mind already.